Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how Oda, the creator of One Piece, trolls his fans like all the time. This happens in the manga SBS section, and today I'm going to be going over some of the most ridiculous and funniest ones that there are. So before we start, I have to make sure y'all know what the SBS section is. So the SBS section is a question and answer section in the One Piece manga where fans write into Oda and ask him questions and he answers them. It gets really weird sometimes, and it's not just the fans that are weird, but also Oda's responses are very strange sometimes. And if you're curious what SBS stands for, it translates to I'm taking questions in English. The SBS starts in volume 4 and it can get really wild, so be prepared. I'm going to start with what I think is really funny. So someone writes in volume 7 and they ask Oda, "Does Shanks like me?" And Oda responds, "I don't care." In volume 93, in the SBS section, we learned something that a lot of us just didn't know. You see this lovely scene with Luffy, and he's sitting right next to this really cute teapot who's sitting on this very comfy looking pillow. So this teapot is a lot more than it appears to be. It looks like it's just resting on this big comfy pillow next to Luffy, but it is in fact a teapot who has eaten a devil fruit. And what devil fruit has it eaten? The dog fruit, Maro Tanuki. If you are unfamiliar with what tanuki are, let me give you a refresher. Tanuki are actually raccoon dogs, which are real creatures in Japan, but in myth and legend, they are mischievous creatures and they have just giant ball sacks. As you see, they are fishing with their ball sack in this picture. They're just massive in all of these pictures. And going back to the SBS, the raccoon dog who ate the tanuki fruit is not resting on a very cozy pillow. He is, in fact, resting on his ball sack. Imagine if Luffy would have been like, nice pillow, let me just rest my head. Moving on to another SBS. This SBS comes from volume 18, and a fan writes in and they're like, "Oda, I hate to tell you this, but your fly is down." And then Oda's like, "Oh crap, my fly is down? So embarrassing." He proceeds to then take off his pants and be like, "Oh, okay, that's good." So a fan writes in volume 28, and they ask Oda just this really weird question. A lot of it doesn't even make sense, and they have this really strange pen name. And then they ask, "Oda, what species are you?" To which Oda replies, "Human, dumbass, next." Another just all-around weird one. Someone writes in asking about Hannibal, who is one of the wardens at Impel Down, the one who's always trying to undermine the other guy. He writes in and he's like, "Hey, were those strawberries on his underpants?" And Oda's like, "Oh, yeah, they were. Why don't I just draw you all of his underpants collection?" Because he has one, so I'm gonna share that with y'all. We have underpants that look like flowers, underpants that look like big boobs for some reason, ones that look frilly, ones that look like pink mushrooms. There's also another one that looks like a loincloth. And finally, the other two pair are his super bikini and Mr. Elephant. So for some reason, we all needed to know that. Speaking of mushrooms and pants, way too many people are concerned with Luffy's mushroom in the SBS section. Starting as early as volume 8, when a fan writes in asking if Luffy's penis can stretch, and according to Oda, it can. Note that this happens before he goes to Amazon Lily, so they wouldn't know in volume 8. In volume 58, we have another mention of Luffy's mushroom where someone writes into Oda and they're like, "Hey, I noticed that I also have a mushroom. And Oda, I think you have a mushroom. Do you think that the Kuja clan could pull them off for us?" To which Oda is like, "Those are your testicles." And he's like, "Oh, wait, I should probably censor this. Those are your and then with the asteristicles." Fans are getting way too comfortable with Oda because in volume 59, someone writes into Oda asking Oda what to do with his Nami body pillow. To which Oda replies, "How would I even know? I guess just like put it between your legs when you're sleeping." You do realize that I don't make the merchandise for One Piece. And he talks about how he's just happy as long as the fans are happy with their own merchandise, and he doesn't really care what people make. Although he does point out that it is very expensive for the body pillow. In volume 48, someone writes in asking if Oda were to get hit by one of Perona's hollows, what would he want to be reborn as? And Oda answers this very interesting. He's like, "Oh, I don't have the will to go on," playing along with the hollow thing. And he says if he was to be reborn, he wants to be a stain, a very persistent stain on a rug. People just write in whatever, and Oda gets sick of it. So someone even wrote in, they were like, "Oh, I am a psychic. I moved a cup." And Oda was just like, "I don't care." In volume 58, someone is asking, what does Whitebeard do with that frisbee under his nose, referring to his big white mustache? And the answer is just as weird as you think it would be. So Oda writes that he throws it for his dog, Stefan. And if you don't know what Stefan looks like, it's probably because he was never animated. Stefan is a dog that looks just like Whitebeard, having the same white mustache that plays fetch with Whitebeard's mustache. And on multiple occasions, people have wrote into the SBS section asking why they haven't seen a certain character naked because of this or that. Like in volume 18, they ask, why did Heerluck just so happen to have a piece of snow covering him, obscuring their view? And Oda says, it didn't just so happen to happen. I did it so you wouldn't see his weenie. So in volume 24 of the manga, they ask again about why there is not nudity, I guess, in One Piece. They ask why the Toge Toge user, why her clothes don't get shredded apart when she uses her fruit. To which Oda replies, if I did that, it would become an extremely erotic manga. And then he says, after I did it like that, I have to draw them that way on the covers too, and then it would be super embarrassing for you to have to purchase them. They would also probably have to be wrapped in plastic. There is also a lot of really perverted questions or penis questions. For example, in volume 74, someone wrote in asking if Marco's penis got ripped off, would it regenerate? To which Oda replies, yes, it would. And here's another penis-related one. In volume 12, someone writes in asking Oda if Buggy's down there part flies as well, and he answers that yes, Buggy's penis can fly. Moving on from those, fan writes in and they ask Oda, is Luffy made of natural rubber or is he made of artificial rubber? And Oda replies that he's naturally stupid, and then he marks out stupid and then he puts rubber. And here's another one where fans are just being weird. So in volume 7, someone writes in and they're like, Oda, we are betrothed. Give me a kiss. And they're just saying all this weird stuff to Oda. And they're saying how they're getting nervous, how they want to kiss Oda, how they want to marry Oda. And then they say that they're this famous actor's little sister. You may recognize her from Death Note. They're obviously joking, and Oda replies, okay, to the hospital. And if you've ever wondered to yourself, why doesn't Luffy get nervous or intimidated? We get the answer in one of the very first SBS in volume 4, and Oda responds that it's because he's stupid. And in case you're wondering, how does Oda feel about all this like perviness and just weirdness in the SBS section? Well, then I have the answer for you. So in volume 74, a fan writes in and they're talking about just how gorgeous Nico Robin's hands are and how he just wants those hands to rub all over him. To which Oda replies, what a pervert, shock, give me a break. These days, the PTA are after me because of this section. And then he says, please, let's not drop the class around here. And finally, the last one I'm going to cover today is another response from Oda about the SBS being pervy. So someone writes in as Oda and they're like, hello, I am Ichiro Oda. I'm here to answer all of your perverted questions this week. And then Oda's like, this is a fake. This is an injustice. The One Piece SBS section is not perverted. If you enjoyed these, please be sure to like and subscribe for daily anime content. Check out my TikTok. And in the comment section, let me know your favorite SBS section and if you want to see more of these.